All right, welcome. We are going to get started here. Share our screen. And welcome to Moolah News. It's time for another update. It is January 28th, 2022. Again, this is, we don't have any mysterious backers. We don't have any mysterious, help here. This is like as grassroots as it gets. We're going to provide you some insights. So right now we're looking at the Bitcoin price. We're at 37,800. We're on a 1 hour time frame, and we've been moving up since we really kicked the can down to this 33,000 level on the 24th. It's been a rough start to 2022, and so let's talk about that a little bit. Number one, a lot of people aren't really talking about, but it's taxes. 2021 saw a lot of big gains in a lot of different stocks and NFTs, and people are going to have to pay taxes if they took some gains. Whether or not this has an impact on the market, I can tell you that seasoned traders and investors and whatnot always do factor that in. I mean, it's something you have to think about. You may even know a friend or somebody that is wondering about their taxes or whatnot. So the market's thinking about that, and that means the possibility of lows, in kind of the March, April timeframe, and that also most people that are going to owe a significant amount of taxes are just going to file an extension, a 6-month extension. And so that really, leads to like an October timeframe. So you could see potentially having crypto kind of stuck in the mud all year, and or at least kind of looking out for some of these times when people may try to dump to raise money to pay their taxes. And the market makers know this, and they're not going to make it easy on anybody to pay their taxes. They've already slammed the market down. You had like 3 or 4 days at the start of the year to get out, and then it slammed down, pretty quickly in a couple different trances. And now a lot of stuff is, a good 50% lower. And again, the market makers are not going to make it easy. They know this. They know people are kind of hamstrung. They know a lot of people got too long, and that leads me to another thing: is there's too many pump boys on Twitter and stuff right now. There's too many people that are pumping up how everything just goes up, and buy my crypto, it's gonna moon. Buy my NFT, it's gonna moon. And it's like, markets don't work like that. You got to view this more like a poker game, where you're kind of playing poker against your friends. You don't want to show all your cards, so to speak. You show all your cards, everybody else at the poker table is going to be like, and that's how, seasoned traders and people that believe in crypto over the long term, they're going to look out at the pump boys, and they're going to be like, does this person really have the hand to hold? People are like, oh, it's going to 100x, and they're like, oh, it's going to 100x, it's going to be so much higher in 2030. Well, are you going to just sit here and hold your crypto down 80% for 2 years, 3 years, and then ride the moon? It's so that's how some of the more seasoned traders just frankly are going to be approaching it. It's more like a poker game. It's not like, hey, let's diamond hand. If everybody just you don't go on a message board and just be like, hey, everybody just diamond hand it. It doesn't. Markets don't really work that way. There's just a lot more factors at play. Again, people are scaling. The best thing to do is scale in and scale out of positions. You scale in, you start to get a sense of, hey, is this thing working for me? Sometimes I put a nibble out, and the market goes straight lower. Like, for example, let's just say not here, but the other day, I think I was doing some nibbling. Let's pull up ETH, actually. Yeah, I was doing some nibbling down here at the low. Maybe it was this day, and it just kept going lower, and then it snapped right back and everything, and I scalped out on a profit. But anyway, traders you get a feel for the market. If I go in here and then it starts taking off, I'm like, okay, I got something here, and I might, add to it. The fact that I went in, it kind of kept going lower. a little skittish of this move higher, and not sure if I want to chase it. But at the same time, with the rest of my holdings, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable that, hey, the market's kind of moving away without me, so to speak. I did some scalp trades that I might have still been holding. I didn't get in, and the market's moving up. So I'm going to factor that in and be like, okay, maybe we've got something, going here. Or if we do go down lower, I might be a little bit more inclined to just be like, hey, I think, there's been some signs of life here. And I'm going to be more willing to, maybe uh, roll up on these if they drop further. But it's a constant, shuffle. There's no thing that works all the time. I've got my moving averages here. I've got different moving averages and EMAs that I choose, and I've got a Bollinger Bands chart, that I also use over here. And the point being, those, everybody's setting their numbers at different things. Everybody's using different indicators. So if you're going on and somebody's like, hey, look, we got this pattern, or we got this whatever. I mean, yeah, there's certain things that work all the time, but you don't go in and go, oh yeah, cool, like this person totally knows. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. I'm always keeping in the back of my head, how risky the markets are and where they've come from. And the Bollinger Bands are a tough one to look at for the long term, because they really skew out, as you saw on that. But so let's jump back to this one that doesn't have the Bollinger Bands. Let's look at the weekly on Bitcoin. All right. So long-term trend looking very positive, and I'm a believer in Bitcoin. I believe it's going up, way over $1 million in the long term. However, I'm also, all the big firms have gotten in on futures. They've got a futures ETF. BlackRock is big into this kind of stuff, Goldman Sachs, whatever. And they want to wipe out the competition. And the competition being like any startup exchanges, like BitMEX was basically shut down, and any other exchanges that are like outside the US that they don't, they want to retain control in the US of every, kind of market. So they won't care if they flush Bitcoin down below 10,000. So everybody's like, oh, Bitcoin's crashed, and oh my God, this is so terrible, and what have you. And I can't believe it's all the way down to 37,000. Well, look at this long-term chart. I mean, it's really nothing. I mean, yeah, okay, dropped from 65 to 37. That's a huge deal for most people. I mean, again, it dropped 50% when it was down at 33. So crypto is nothing to sneeze at. But at the same time, if we draw another trend line on this, again, over the long term, if this thing dropped down to 14,000, I mean, you're still in a long-term uptrend. And, it's a long game. Everybody's like, hey, this is going to be, $1 million, and here I've just ran this up to, over $1 million here for 2028 on a low trend line. But it could just trudge like around here and have its big move like later in the decade. So it doesn't. Yeah, is it going to go to 1 million? I'm pretty confident it's going to go to $1 million or way higher, actually, in the long term. But I also don't want to ride it down to $7,000. And I'm aware that the big boys, they don't care. They'll shake this stuff out and move it to shake out other hedge funds, other market makers, other exchanges, and they'll use government announcements to do it. They'll use like the SEC will come out, or Biden will come out, and they'll make some announcement that they're going to regulate crypto, and they may or may not even do it. But they'll make an announcement and they'll scare the heck out of people that are just not going to hold through a tough market if they don't have to. So they'll dump it and buy back in. And that's how I would approach things. I'd much rather dump my Bitcoin here at 35 and buy it back at 12, and buy a lot more of it than torture myself holding all the way through. So I'm constantly reevaluating the market. Personally, right now, I think Bitcoin's going to break up, above 300,000. But again, I have my finger on the trigger for, is it gonna fall lower? Other thing I'm looking at is total market cap. So, here's the total market cap of every crypto excluding Bitcoin. And we're at under $1 trillion. We got up to 1.6 trillion. We're at under $1 trillion. We've come a long way, though. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, crypto back in 2017, there wasn't even $2 billion in all of crypto outside of Bitcoin. I mean, that's just shocking. I mean, even as late as March 2020 or summer 2020, you're talking about $70 billion in the entire crypto. And $1 trillion I see as being nothing in terms of all the cryptos out there. I mean, this is going substantially higher over the long term, at least 25, probably 100 trillion, and maybe even more. But what is that going to entail? That may entail central bank digital currencies being counted as crypto that are stable and don't do anything and just suck up, market share. And so then we end up with 40 trillion in crypto, but it's really just stable coins. So, you got to factor in, like, just because we're at 1 trillion today, that doesn't mean that today's cryptos are going up, a 40x. That means that the industry as a whole is going up 40x. That means cryptos we haven't even heard of could be a biggest part of the move going up. Cryptos that haven't even come out yet. I mean, you think of 2021 and the amount of new cryptos that are on the scene. Everybody wants to think like today's cryptos are, just going to be around forever. And, to some extent, some of them will move and adapt and, be long-term winners. ETH, part of me thinks, ETH at $300 billion. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to be going way substantially higher in value. However, I mean, everybody knows about the gas fees and who wants to use ETH, and what do you really, at the end of the day, use ETH for if you end up having, Matic and, other L2s or Shiba in you or whatever that you can actually, kind of do the day-to-day transactions and not have to be on the Ethereum platform. And then Ethereum becomes, as a ZK term, a roll up. You roll up, you put 1,000 transactions into one transaction and roll it up into the Ethereum. And there's a tech lead crypto guy on YouTube that talks about like how some of these layer ones, I mean, do you really need to own the coin? Really, I mean, it's a commodity. So that even Ethereum, there's a non-zero chance that it's not really worth much. So you got to factor everything in. I'm factoring everything into like Ethereum should easily 100x to like maybe this thing's going to go to zero, so but yeah, so and then pay attention to the tokenomics. You got a lot of projects out there that even well-meaning projects, they're not, I wouldn't label them pump and dumps, but when the owners are taking way too much. I mean, if they believed in their project, I mean, even having 1% of like a project that's going to become like $100 billion project, but they're doing these, things where they're giving the venture capitalists like 10%, they're keeping 20% for the owners, they're keeping 10, and that's like, I mean, why do you want to hold that? So I would look into some of these, and you got to be considering that if 20% of the float out there has just been dumped to like certain wallets, they're looking to cash out and they're looking to buy big houses with it and nice expensive cars. And so you got that supply hanging over the market. I mean, a lot of these cryptos have enormous amounts of supply that people are just waiting, to dump or figure out how to dump on anybody. So, as somebody else said, you look at what the market cap of your crypto is and you think it's, 300 billion, but there isn't 300 billion today in cash, that's going to buy all the Ethereum if everyone wanted to sell it. What's the real value of Ethereum if everybody wants to sell at the same time? And that, Ethereum's not a good example on that, but some of your less liquid cryptos, you're just looking at paper wealth because, for the bigger holders that have so many shares, how do they get out of that? So they're going to be piecing out of it. And so it really just depends on, what kind of demand is there in the marketplace. So those are factors I'm looking at. Again, very optimistic on crypto in the long term, not so sure about, things about 2022, and approach it day by day, look at it like a poker game against people where, look, it's, you don't just diamond hand and everybody wins, yeah, to some extent we can do that, to some extent, that's real. And, you got to build communities and get people excited and things like that. And so a lot of that is good, but at the same time, you just got to have your head about you. Like, this isn't like just, everybody's free money, gravy train. You got to have more of a level head and kind of know all the factors that are going out there. Too many people are like, even Leo Trades, he's like all about the Federal Reserve and their meeting and their announcement. Well, the Federal Reserve's been having meetings multiple times every year for, all the years. I mean, the 80s, the 90s, et cetera, et cetera. So here's Leo Trades. He's new into, crypto in the last 5 years plus. Big guy, big following, really, really respect him. And he's doing great things. But, even that, hey, he's just one person trying to feel out, hey, what the market's going to do. And then how is everybody filtering their own crypto holdings? You're trying to filter the news into like, how does this make it good for my crypto? And that's just not really realistic. I mean, that's what I do. That's what we all want to do. But you also got to be able to step back and be like, okay, hey, I want my own crypto to pump. I want, but is it really good having a Federal Reserve that's responsible for everything? Is it really good? Like, some people are just like, I don't care what it is. If it's good, if it helps my crypto go up, that's great. And I think that's also totally the wrong approach. It's just like, think about fundamentally decentralization, giving power to more people financially, and how these blockchains can enable that on a global level. And then just approach projects, in my opinion, approach things that way. How's this helping people? And that's where Corey Coins is coming in. Corey as in, Rock Corey, Quarry, Corey Coins. And then we've got the Twitter, but we're going to start releasing coins that, we're really aiming at being transparent, honest about what we're trying to do, and not pump and dump or anything, and really try to help grow the world, and better and improve the world. And so, I would encourage people to, look at things that way, and then approach your crypto also from, do I legitimately want to be holding this in 5 years? What is the value to holding this in 5 years? And there's a lot of cryptos out there that you can sit there and go, yeah, I definitely want to own this, but you got to do your research and think about it. Hit me up, this Moolah News, direct message me via Twitter or wherever. Thanks for listening, and good luck with your trading.